Can that be turned into electoral success? That's the question. Is there a sea change on campus like we saw during the Reagan years? I put that question to Josh Kraushaar, editor at National Journal. Do you think at this point, considering what we're talking about with college Trumpers, that group is actually growing, or is it a good story?
It's a base, which means that there is a hardcore segment on college campuses of Republicans who identify with Trump. And when you have a president, your partisans follow suit. There was a Reagan revolution where you had a lot of college students who were perhaps in the minority, but they were hardcore in support of what Ronald Reagan was all about in the 1980s. And there were certain stereotypes that were based off that. You're seeing a similar partisan move with Trump supporters.
Do you think, considering at least perceived momentum and then maybe actual gains in this group, maybe few million votes, could have a meaningful outcome to the 2018-2020 elections?
So here's the challenge for both parties. Millennials, younger voters, generally don't show up at the numbers that their older counterparts do. And the real challenge for both parties, especially Democrats, is turning out people under the age of 35, get them to show up for a midterm election where the stakes don't seem quite as high. Yeah. Now, Democrats think that they have the secret sauce because Trump inspires so much activism, especially among a younger group, a younger cohort. But that's an unproven test. And if you remember throughout the Obama years, Democrats and the White House tried endlessly to try to figure out how you get young people to vote for Democrats when Obama wasn't on the ballot, and they were unsuccessful every time that happened. They think Trump might be they give the negative energy. They may see a lot more people showing up because of Trump, but that's not happened in a while, and it's a big X factor in this year's midterms.
It's a lot easier to get people on the quad holding a sign than it is to get them to the voting booth on that day, especially when they might not be registered locally.
That's right, and that's another challenge. If you go to school hundreds of miles away from where you live, do you remember to vote absentee? Do you vote early? I mean, it takes a little bit of work to vote, a little bit of organization, and not every student takes their due diligence to do that. I think you're seeing the Republican base getting smaller, especially among young people. But those who are remaining that identify as Republicans are hardened Trump supporters, and it's changed what it means to be a college Republican. What you're seeing is a lot of ferment, frankly, in the Republican Party. People are identifying more as independents. You have a lot of people who used to be Republicans who may not necessarily subscribe to Trump's brand of in-your-face partisanship, but they're also trying to figure out where they stand.
I thought Josh made good sense of it, saying there are lots of threads here. Maybe it's shrinking, but it's much more enthusiastic, so we'll have to see. Some skepticism, clearly, about this, no doubt, real trend catching on and actually going mainstream like it did somewhat in the 80s. But again, no doubt, counterculture is always a magnet on college campuses, and right now, that's Donald Trump for many students.